I'm Justin Williams, and you're watching Nasty Knuckles.
You're listening to Nasty Knuckles, the Hockey Outlaws podcast, with your hosts, Derek Nasty Sutter and former Philadelphia Flyer enforcer, Riley Cote, as they go behind the scenes with your favorite NHL players. Time to face off.
All right, welcome back. What's happening, Nasty?
What's up, Rigarelia, man? I don't know what's going on. Like, you're there, I'm here. Just doesn't feel the same.
Doesn't feel the same.
You got a bowling pin behind you, though.
You got the Flyers bowling pin, courtesy of Paintsu. You know our boyfriend?
I know. You definitely didn't hit it when you were bowling. It stayed just like that.
It's a crisp-looking bowling pin.
The old lefty coming down the lane.
Little spin.
What are you doing?
Working on getting my microphone situated. I couldn't get functioning this morning,
A little tough time. You had a tough time there. Yeah. Sometimes you got to have a little adversity, though. You know,
be able to manage the adversity.
Yep.
Deal with the stress.
I saw some smoke popping up. I think that's how you manage the stress there.
The smoke out of my ears, the smoke out of a piece of glass.
In that bowl.
Oh, yeah.
I'm just kidding. What's buddy? The weekend went over and I went over to the Warriors are having their training camp. They didn't have all of their players there, but there was a ton. They have 4 tiers now. They have 4 teams. Yeah, it's awesome to see. Saw Brad Marsh yesterday, Kobe Cohen, Friggy was there, Turk, Sudsy, and then Duff. I got to talk to Duff for a few minutes. And just so you know, Devin Riccio has one of the best porn stashes I've ever seen going right now, but he needs to shave it. It's like you that beer. Oh yeah. If he pulled up in a white van, there's going to be issues because this thing's bad. But I didn't get to talk to Dev. I wanted to say something to him, but anyway, yeah, it was cool. They were, Marshy and all those guys coming off of the weekend last week with the alumni fantasy camp, which was just a huge success again for them. And then to get over to see the Warriors there, training camp was pretty cool. And like I said, I got to talk to Kobe Cohen for a few minutes. It's amazing how much that's grown, dude. I know you help out a lot too, as well as myself, but it's pretty cool to see.
No, it really is. Rob Bear.
Yeah, Rob Bear. Sorry, I forgot to mention Rob. I saw him as well.
Just everyone's supporting the Warriors program. It's done a hell of a job. I mean, how many guys is it helping? If it keeps expanding like that, they might have 10 teams when it's all said and done.
I know.
Recruiting. But it's a great program. It's helping a lot of families out. So keep supporting the Warriors as much as we can.
Yes, for sure. For sure, brother.
Or you just
I didn't get no. They didn't want to get me out there. They were buzzing. It was their top. It was the tier 1 scrimmage. They were buzzing. They were moving pretty good. Faust was out there. Manor flying around. Oh yeah, Sweens, all the boys. There's a lot of guys I got to say hi to real quick, but it was cool. It was cool. They were getting after it, man. Lot of players there.
It's great. I thought they would get you out there to showcase a little skillsy for the for the boys.
Skills. Oh yeah, skills. All right. Fuck.
Maybe next time.
Maybe next time. Maybe we'll have another. I don't know if we want to play them again with the team. They've brought in some serious ringers, man. Really good players. But anyway, yeah, it was cool to see everyone for a few minutes. I wasn't there too long, but it was cool to see those guys.
Absolutely, always is.
Riggs, let me ask you. You got the inside scoop on everything. A lot of talk over the last week or so about Ryan Johansen and the Flyers, saying he was in breach of his contract, so he was released. Really not much other than what we've heard. like through the media, which you never know what's true, what's not true. But basically, when he was thrown in for the Walker trade last year with Colorado, that's how Danny was able to get that first round pick, I believe, by taking Ryan Johansen. He said he was too hurt to go down to play. Now, I guess he's still saying that, but they're saying they're breaching your contract, not coming to camp or whatever. So they released him. I guess it's pretty standard, no? Like when something like this happens.
I think if it's that black and white, I don't know if they're going to dispute it or what. And, I don't know how that all works, the process of essentially challenging, his injury or
Right.
his situation, I guess. So I don't know how it plays out, but if it was black and white, I think it's pretty simple procedure. But I think if they're disputing it, then I don't know what the steps are for that. But
If maybe I missed something in the last day or two, it was pretty busy over the weekend, but from what I could see, he basically said I'm too injured to play. He didn't want to report to the Phantoms, and so he was released unless we're missing something, but I don't think we are here. So, yeah, it'd be interesting to see if he does try to dispute it, whatever. I'm not really sure how that'll work out, but I did have some people asking me about it, and I said pretty cut and dry in my understanding of it. But one of the funny things was Cam Atkinson had put a video out, I guess, at a wedding, and Ryan Johansen was jumping around. Didn't look too hurt, but then all of a sudden it was taken down.
Full bore wedding dance. Oh yeah,
so then it was taken down. So now you're like, maybe I don't know if that was before or after.
Well, they want to show the public if it was a lower body or upper body.
Yeah, well, you're the one that usually tells people what's wrong.
Yeah.
Do you remember back to a couple of summers ago?
I have
the back.
Diagnosing. I can tell the way he dances if it's lower body or upper body.
I wanted to. I can get into it later. I was just going to say with our great guest this week during the interview, you brought up a couple of injuries he sustained. I was like, if you'd have been there, you could have just diagnosed them because obviously you know injuries.
Could have get them back a little sooner.
You don't even need an X-ray machine or an MRI. You just know, right?
Just look at it, put my finger on it, just a little feel. Yeah,
Mr. Miyagi, no, you look a little bit like him,
Mr. Miyagi.
But anyway, the Johansen stuff, it's kind of interesting. I mean, there's nothing else going on to talk about, but like I said, it just seems pretty cut and dry to me. And again, maybe I'm missing something, but the only other real news I saw in the last few days was the top prospect for the Nashville Predators, Yaroslav Askarov, demanded a trade and was traded to San Jose. I'm imagining with UC Soros signing that huge deal, he's like, hey, like, get me somewhere I'm gonna play. So I'm not right up on top of Nashville Predators right now and what's going on there, but I thought that was pretty wild. He demanded a trade.
Yeah, must not be happy, Nast.
Well, obviously not. Especially when you use the word demanding as what I read, that he demanded a trade. But other than that, Riggs, not much going on. I went down to Wildwood with LV's team this past weekend and went to the water park.
Oh, some slides?
Actually, I didn't. I was posted up at the bar with the rest of the parents while the kids played. It was awesome. We had a great time, though. It was a good time. We're getting ready. Season's getting ready to start. I got my PHC 2014 hat on, but it's really with my logo, obviously, and LV's. I had LV's hat on, but I made all the kids' hats for the start of the season. We're headed to Rochester, not this coming weekend, but the next. So it's here, man.
It's here. Oh, man. Hard to believe. Summer's already gone. Girls started school today.
No, they didn't.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, God. Elvis starts next Thursday, and he's going to go half a day because we got to drive to Roch for that tournament. But, it's amazing how quick it goes. It actually sucks. Definitely hadn't been at the beach enough or in the pool enough, to be honest with you.
You get another month or so.
But you're getting ready to go on another vacation. What's, don't worry.
We'll
Baller and I.
And biz,
Yeah.
Both.
Build a little city out in the desert for a few days and break it down.
Break it down.
Break it down.
Bang. Come back with some ideas, Nas.
All right. Yeah. I think you'll have enough stuff in you that some ideas. I mean, just take a pen and paper so you don't forget.
Definitely have my journal with me.
Did you get Jess to write it down? I trust her. I'm not sure, except for your beard. I think you should trim it before you go out there.
Hell no. You have the protection of the desert. The wind, the sand,
Dude, you guys look like Mad Max. You're too young to know what that movie was. Old movie. God, it looked like that with that sandstorm you guys were going through. Right. It's crazy.
A little different animal this year.
A little different.
Nas, before we get on to our guest here, we gotta wish John Tortorella a big congratulations.
Yes, assistant coach with the Team USA. That's where I worked with Torts, 3 or 4 times. Talk about a guy that's passionate about United States of America, man. This guy could fucking run for president. I'm serious too. He really could. But no, it's awesome. I can't wait for this tournament. I think it's going to be really cool. U.S. has a great team, but I don't want to jinx it. I know who you're going for. Bad guys. You've been here long enough. You should be American.
Yeah, still rocking the Canadian passport. Nasty.
I know. But yeah, congrats, Torts. That's awesome, man.
Absolutely.
Love Billy G's running the whole thing too, and seeing some of the videos of them talking about, what kind of players they want. And I mean, these days there's a lot of really, really good American players, obviously. I mean, every team's going to be obviously stacked, but it'll be a fun tournament to watch.
Absolutely.
For sure.
All right, Nas, this segment is brought to you by Bet365, proud partner of Nasty Knuckles. Open an account today with Bet365 and bet on a huge range of markets. So whatever the sport, whatever the moment, it's never ordinary at Bet365. Use code HockeyCA. Nas, got your app open?
I've got it open, and I'm ready. I'm going to tell you where I'm going. I'm going to the NFL. I know I already have once, but I'm going to the NFL, and I'm a hometown guy. Well, I'm not really from here, but I've lived here long enough. I'm an Eagles fan, obviously. I'm going to go for futures, and I'm going to take the Eagles to win over 10.5 games at -140. I just think, looking at this team, knock wood, stay healthy, I think they easily get 11 wins. I say easily. It's never easy, but I'm going with that. So I'm taking the Eagles to win over 10.5 games for -140.
All right. Love where your head's at, Nas.
Yes.
It's always so clear and focused.
It's very focused.
All right, Nas, staying in the NFL as well. I'm going with the Eagles, Saquon Barkley.
Yes.
And if he stays healthy, he's going to be rushing over 1,025.5 yards this season at a -115.
Wow, I like that play, and you're right. If he stays healthy, this guy's a machine. So I like your play. I like both. We're Eagles guys.
That's it. Why the hell not?
Exactly. Bet365, baby.
All right. Let's rock here, Nas. Episode 170 with our boy, Justin Williams.
Let's go.
Let's go. Welcome back. I'm Riley Cote.
And I'm Derek Settlemeyer. This week, we are so excited to have a gentleman that was drafted by the Philadelphia Flyers back in 2000 in the first round, 28th overall. He won 3 Stanley Cups, Riggs. Nicknamed Mr. Game 7. Played in 9 Game 7s, Riggs, just so you know, in his career, and went 8-1 in those games. This young man is tied with Glenn Anderson for the most goals in Game 7s with 7, and he holds the outright record for the most points in Game 7s at 15. Played 1,264 games in the league, amassing 797 total points. That's not including the playoff numbers, which are crazy. But please welcome Mr. Game 7, Justin Williams, to the show. What's up, brother?
The pleasure, boys. How are you? You guys both look fabulous.
Oh,
you
man.
too, man. Nice to see you.
Good to see you, brother. I know how busy you are. Pickleball, golf, you name it. This guy does it. This guy's one of the best athletes I've ever seen. But what are you up to these days, Willie?
Well, I mean, I basically turned into a yes guy. Basically, people ask me stuff. I'm like, yeah, I could do that, and yeah, I could do that. Obviously, when you had played hockey, you were like, nah, I got to train, or I got to do this, or I got practice. But I got to start to learn to say no because I kind of do a lot of things right now. But between working for the Hurricanes and coaching my son's team and doing some TV stuff, I'm pretty busy.
Wow. So what
Very
exactly
nice.
are you? Yeah, that's awesome. What are you doing with the Hurricanes exactly?
Exactly. I don't know if I can say that because it's very
okay.
loose. It's
I
very
got you.
loose.
I got you.
Wearing a few different hats.
Yeah, I mean the actual term is special advisor, and
Okay.
I, you know how pompous I am. I told them they had to put that special part in there.
Yeah.
I'm not just an advisor.
Yeah.
Yeah,
No,
a special one.
Yeah, no, I'm just kidding. I'm just so I do a little bit of everything. They've been great with me. They've allowed me to kind of dip my toe in every part of it and really kind of see what I like. And obviously Riley knows this. When you're done playing hockey, you just got to figure out what you want to do when you grow up. And you know, for me, it's been great. Carolina's given me the opportunity to see the behind the scenes a little bit on you know, anything from player movement, player development, you know, on the ice with the guys. So I've been able to do quite a few things, which has been great.
Yeah, and it's like Riley and I were talking before he jumped on, and if any team, not even any of the teams that you played for, but any team would, I would imagine, would be like chomping at the bit to get a guy like you involved with their team in any in any area. But it sounds like you enjoyed your time in Carolina. Obviously, you won a cup. We'll get into that there. But you're coaching. You said you're coaching your son's team. I was down a couple years ago to Raleigh, and now when I grew up down there. I'm not sure if you remember that, but I'm from North Carolina. I'm a redneck.
Yep.
Oh, North
Yep.
Kakalaki. You're down in God's country now. But when I was growing up, there wasn't hockey. There was the Greensboro Monarchs in the East Coast League, I think it was called then, and there was a team in Winston, but there weren't kids. Kids weren't able to play. And then 2 years ago, I took Elvis down, and I was amazed. And the way the sport's growing down there, it's awesome.
Yeah, it's been phenomenal. I mean, I was here. I had 2 stints in Carolina.
Right.
You know, one in mid 2000s when I left Philly, and then once obviously at the end of my career, and it's really grown a lot just from the youth hockey. I mean, I know a lot of people in the youth hockey now here with my my son and daughter played, and obviously still do. But kind of one of the best things about being down here, and you kind of said it, North Kakalaka, is the people have really taken to it. And one of the signs that I actually love that I always kind of bring back is when we were playing the Devils in the playoffs, and there was a sign behind the bench that said "Devil's Country, you're in the Bible Belt now."
That's awesome.
It was just like that's just so fitting for the people down here for sure.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it certainly helps you guys have success early. Obviously, get a Stanley Cup there, and I believe it was 06. And obviously, when you're winning, have good teams, the city lands up rallying around you, and then obviously building in that youth hockey program through the NHL club and all that good stuff. So it's probably pretty interesting to see it grow over the amount of time that you've been connected to the city.
Yeah, I mean, listen, it's wild and it's unique. It's extremely unique. Like, it's not shocking to just I don't know how you guys grew up, but I didn't run into any NHL hockey players when I was around the rinks when I was younger. It just didn't happen. You didn't see them.
Yeah,
but
right.
It's no issue. You're walking around our practice facility. You'll see Rod Brindamore coaching his kid, or Brent Burns on the ice with the kids, and Jordan Martinook. All the guys with kids now, you just see them in the youth program and stuff, and you just see them around the rink, around the way. And last year, before my daughter stopped playing hockey, I was coaching my daughter. Rod Brindamore's son was on the team, and Brent Burns' son was on the team. and there's 3 of us that are out there coaching at the same time. I'm just like, these kids know what's going on right now. Like,
I know.
Yeah, right.
like, and
So
they
cool.
don't. They're just like,
Yeah.
oh, it's just regular stuff. But I didn't
Right.
grow up like that, and I don't know if you guys did either.
Yeah,
No, I definitely didn't either. No.
I
Would've been
was
nice.
when I was growing up, I would come up. My dad was a trainer with the Flyers when I was a kid, but I lived down there. So when I came up and I would see these guys, I was like in awe. But it's funny, like for my son Elvis, I was working with a team up until 3 years ago, and he's spoiled in a way because he gets to know these guys, and it's just like, oh, they're normal dudes, you know, like,
Yeah.
and he's just like, you know, he sees guys and he doesn't understand it, like you said, like, but all his friends are like, oh my God, Provy was over at your house last night. And he's like, yeah. And he would like come to practice and all the kids are losing it. And, you know, Elvis just like, it's just Provy.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
but it's a big deal, buddy. Trust me, especially the kids, the hockey players, you know, stuff like that.
Yeah.
I can imagine how it's like, I would be the same way as you, Willie. Like you looking around, like I got 3 NHL guys right now coaching me.
Yeah.
And it's crazy.
Yeah.
Hey, Willie, I had a question about your role there in Carolina. Is partly, obviously, you bring a lot of value in a bunch of different ways. Is part of the job kind of figuring out what you want to do too? Like, are you trying to sort out how you want to invest your time going forward?
Yeah, definitely. It's exactly what I want to do. I mean, I have a son who's 16 now and a daughter who's 13. You know, could potentially, you know, lose my son next year to junior hockey or whatever it had be. So I'm going to have a lot more time on my hands. And, you know, what I want to do at that time is, you know, still up for debate, right? I mean, I still want to be the guy that, you know, my friends call and be like, hey, you want to play golf tomorrow? I want to say, yeah, I can golf.
Yeah.
But, you know, the other part of me is like, you know, you have that competitive stuff in you. You have that drive in you that, you know, obviously you know about, and you're, you know, where do I get that now? Like, where do I get that? I love the team atmosphere. You know, I love hockey. It's all I know. Everything in my life I have, you know, it's kind of because of hockey. So I'm sure I'll stay in some capacity. It's just, you know, how deep I want to get.
We sat with Danny last week, Danny Briere, and his first opportunity was just kind of follow Paul Holmgren around on the business side. And it was funny. He said, you know, he got into the first few of the meetings and he's sitting there with his notepad and he's like, I don't understand a fucking thing they're saying. They're using these, you know, these initials for things on the business side. And he said this lady was watching him and says, here's a little cheat sheet so you know what we're saying. But he said, you know, his passion and his just like you, like his competitive nature, he realized once he took over the East Coast team in Maine and started building a team that's where he really wanted to go with what he's doing. And it's worked out, but he did spend years, you know, following Homer around and working as a special assistant and all that kind of stuff as well. So he's doing a great job right now with the Flyers.
Yeah.
It's
much like college, right? It's more like worst way do you want to go, right? I mean, you have all these majors, you have all these directions, you have an idea of what you want, but you don't really know what you want, right? Until you sit there and figure it out. And that's kind of what I said. But when you're done playing hockey, you got to grow up, right? Because we've always been told where to be, what time everything starts, when to eat, when these games are. Your schedule's been mapped out for you for years, right? And then when it's over, right? So, you know, you just got to, you know, pick things and you know, go with your instincts on kind of what you're interested in, right? What your interests are. And you know, for us, it doesn't go far from hockey. And with Danny, he is doing a great job. I've spoken with him a couple times about it. And, you know, obviously once he was building that team there in the minors, he was like, yeah, he kind of found it. He's like, this is what I want, this is what I love. And, you know, even though we're not on the ice, you know, you still feel it. And it's a lot more emotional and a lot more intense than you would think it would be, I think.
Yeah, he made a great point, and it's a lot different where you guys are. You guys played the game. I obviously didn't. I was a pigeon equipment guy, but I'm a competitive guy. I played sports, you know, in college and everything. So my favorite part of being fortunate enough to be in a league for so long was game days and the games. And I would probably a little bit too fired up sometimes, but
no, never not.
Hey, Riles, I was always jacked, but it's funny. He's Danny's like you in that way where he's super competitive, and he's like, I really have to like take deep breaths sometimes because, you know, you're getting wound up, but you used to be able to control the game because you were playing. Now you can't. And it's a different emotion, I would imagine, for you.
Yeah. I mean, what I used to love is when everybody used to get into it. Like, even like I have equipment managers or strength coaches behind the bench that would start chirping guys and be like, whoa, whoa,
Yeah.
you know, get all fired up. We had this guy, Skip Cunningham. I'm sure you know Skip.
Yeah, I know
and
Skip.
he was so fiery. He's from Boston. He's so fiery. If someone got on one of his guys, he would be barking from the bench at him. And it was the best. Like, it fired me up too. Do you have any stories that are nasty?
Well, I'll tell you, I just know this. Him and my dad are really good friends. They started at the same time years and years ago. So I just always, every time I get to see Skip, whether it was in Hartford when he was there before they moved, and then all the years in Carolina, like, he's just one of my favorite people to go talk to. He kind of made me laugh. Be like, these guys have changed. But he's got that boss, like you said, he's kind of guy. He got a little better from being in North Carolina for so many years. His accent wasn't as bad, but I love that guy. And you're right. He was a fiery guy.
Yeah.
Nasty's the shadow box on the bench. Get
Guys
Lavi all fired up.
Yeah, well, me and Lavi, we're talking about Lavi.
Yeah, Bob and weaving.
Harry, you'll like this, Willie. Harry used to, when Riley would fight, I was like, you know, Riley's lived with me for a little bit. We were really tight. We did basically everything together. And so when he's out there fighting guys like George LaRock and Brash, guys that are outweighing him by 50 pounds. And I just kind of was dodging and weaving for him while he was fighting. And Harry would always like go, "You all right? Did you catch any?" And I'm like, "No, man, I'm okay. I just hope I just want Riles to be okay." But yeah, Lavi,
he's nice and down with you after the game.
Yeah, I know, right? Yeah. How you feeling, Nas? How was that battle tonight?
Oh man, yeah. Bricks used to give it to. He used to laugh, make fun of me for that. But Lavi used to get me so wound up. Like we'll talk about Lavi in a few minutes. But me and Lavi, we used to like. I think he blew my shoulder out the wall. I think that's why I ended up having that one surgery, Riggs, from him. He's a big man, and he leaned into me on a big goal one night, and I wasn't ready for it. It was when he had first got here, and he, like, hit me. I swear to God, I went 5 feet, and I looked at him. I was like, holy fuck, man. He's like, let's fucking go. You know, he's red as can be, but, I used to get a little fired up.
Well, I mean, I think you fired him up more than he fired you up. You're the one that was giving him the Red Bull shots and whatever else you're giving this guy, running up and down the hallway, sweating before the game starts.
Willie, Lavi'd get there at 3:30 or 3, and he'd have about 10 black coffees before the first meeting, and then we had these pills that I used to get for him at GNC. That were legal. They were legal.
Yeah.
And
I don't think anyone's piss testing the coach.
We're not. I think some of the players wanted us to after a while, but I'd give him one of those. And then he found these Red Bull shots. They were a full Red Bull, but in a shot. So then he would crush one of those. And Chief said, "You better be careful giving Lavi all this shit." He gets way too wound up for it. So anyway, I remember, like, Riles could tell you, there was a couple times where I'd give Lavi the pill and it would kick in sooner than later, and he would be out of his mind, like just about everything. And I think Richie turned around to me one night and goes, "Nasty, if you ever give him one of those fucking pills again, I'm gonna fucking punch you right in the fucking face." I'm like, "All right, boys, all right." I'll try not to.
Yeah, but he's one of the best motivator speakers I've been around. He's simply amazing, right? I mean, he should just save all his material for like 2 minutes before puck drop, because you have a meeting at 5:30 for a 7:00 game. And you look around the room and you're ready to go. You're like, "All right, let's go, boys." And you're like, "I still got an hour till warm up." I mean, it's crazy, but he was great. Very influential guy in my life.
There's a clip that I think Baller had put up the other day on our all our platforms there, and it was Lavi. It's pretty iconic speech from when we did the 24/7 thing years and years ago. I think it was 2012, and he comes in the locker room. I think we're in Colorado, and it's a great little speech. You've probably seen it on social media at some point, and I love reading the comments after, because people are like, "I'm ready to run through a brick wall for this guy." I don't even know who he is, but yeah, his speeches to me, I don't think I ever saw a coach, and they were always seemed to be different too. It wasn't like he was going back to the same one. Like he always had something different. And I just thought it was always great. I know he used to fire me up, and I wasn't even playing the game.
Yeah. Yeah. No, there's something to be said for that for sure. And instead of just, go out and play, and every coach has their own, type of message and the way they want to convey things. But the longevity that these coaches have, the best ones are able to just change the message, still have the same basis, the same principles of how to play the game, but just, their message changes and how they deliver it. And that's, it really attributes to obviously how smart he is, his intellect, but really how he can feel the emotion that you're in when you're sitting in that stall before a game and just ready to go. And it's an awesome thing, and it can really, really inspire you.
Yeah, no doubt. I read, Willy, I think I read somewhere where you were talking about Laviolette. It was an interview or something, and something stuck out to me. I think you said, if I'm not mistaken, like he said to you, like, let yourself be great or allow yourself to be great or something like that. Mm-hmm. And I feel like that was how he pushed that to everyone. And he's like, don't be afraid, like you can be great. I remember when we went on that run, like he would say that quite a bit.
Yeah. That's one of the main things that you try to do in any sport, right? If you go to a golfing range and you go to the, a tour event and you look on the tee and you see everybody smashing the ball down the middle, right? You're like, oh my gosh, you can't tell the difference between a tour player and a Corn Ferry Tour player, right? And that's the same thing in hockey too, right? Like when you're in there for training camp, you took, most of the names off the jerseys and you didn't know who they were. Everybody shoots the puck hard. Everybody hits hard. Everybody's big, everybody could do everything, but it's just a matter of letting yourself be great when the moment is there. And he was always allow yourself to be great. So don't get caught up in the moment of the hype and let yourself not be yourself, right? Go out there and swing. And if you miss, it's okay, but at least you gave it a shot. And it was very inspiring, and it gives you, it's very uplifting as a player to hear that. Because sometimes as players, you can be like, all right, don't mess up or you're going to be sitting on the bench, right? That's a tough one. That's a tough one to get over, as opposed to the let yourself be great out there. Don't get caught up in the emotion of the moment. Just go out there and be yourself and trust yourself, trust your instincts, and go get it. So, definitely something that has stayed with me for a long time. And I think a lot of guys would probably agree with that.
Yeah. That's awesome.
Can you expand on that, Willy, just a little bit? Because it's one thing to hear the message, right? You basically got permission to make mistakes and play the game and be a little more free. But then you have the individual, the player themselves, to actually go and enact that and go on the ice and perform. Because there's obviously a ton of guys that weren't able to stay and play at that level. Maybe just throw in a little piece of advice out there for any of our listeners around like how do you adjust the mindset to take that advice or that permission from the coach and go out there and do your thing?
Yeah. Just kind of going back to what I said, it's just everybody's talented, everybody's good, everybody's big, everybody's strong, everybody can shoot the puck hard, everybody can do all the skill stuff. It always just comes down to, can you play? Can you play when there's a guy bearing down at you? Can you make that pass when someone's coming to hit you? Can you make that jump shot with someone in your face? Can you do it in a game? And trusting yourself, I think, is the biggest asset. Obviously, you got to have the talent for it, but if you don't trust your talent that it's going to bring out, then you probably aren't going to make it, right? You're just not. You're going to be one of those guys that's going to be, oh yeah, what happened to him? And oh yeah, he was good. You remember that guy? And there won't be anything to it. But the guys that are able to stick around are the guys that believe in themselves, that obviously challenge themselves, and are willing to put themselves on the line. And you see that in every sport. And I'm sure you guys, maybe you watched the Olympics, maybe you didn't, but you see Steph Curry there. He was just like, at the end of that game, he was just throwing up threes. He was just like, give it to me. Like, I can't miss. Like, I'm confident. I know I can do this. And he's done it a million times in practice. And, I'm kind of rambling a little bit, but I love seeing athletes letting themselves be great out there and just showing it to the rest of the world. It's pretty awesome to see.
Yeah,
it is. You have a little, you know, a little bit about that, Willie, even though you probably won't say it, but I got a question though. So you start to get into your career a little bit. I got a question about your junior career here.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So your first year you're playing Plymouth Whalers. First year you get 47 games, 4 goals, 8 assists for 12 points. Now, my question is, what did you do over that summer? Because I'm starting to think there could have been some injections, some kind of shit going on. Because the next year you come in with 68 games, played 37 goals, 46 assists for 83 points. What happened there? In all honesty, obviously, I know you weren't into the steroids at that point in the HGH, but seriously, that's a serious. No, I'm kidding, obviously, but that's a serious turnaround. What happened in that summer?
I don't know. Things happened for me like super quick. A lot of people have asked me, how you get there. All the parents and whatever. What'd you do? Can you give me a trick? Like what was it? So I mean that year I was. I mean, not a lot of kids play junior at 16, right? It's only the elite of the elite. I was a 6th round pick into the OHL. I wasn't, Mr. Sexy Pick, look at me, highly touted guy. I just wasn't. I was just another player. So when I came in, I was, hoping to make the team. I made the team. Peter DeBoer was my coach at the time, who's obviously now done very well for himself. But we had an older team. We had a really, really good team. A lot of, players, on that team were drafted, and there wasn't much room for a young player to go in. So halfway through that year, they had actually sent me down. They sent me down to the Junior A League, which is the CompuWare Ambassadors, and I finished the season out there, and then came up when that season was done too. So I guess to answer your question, that next summer, yes, I worked hard. I went to the gym. I did all that stuff. But as far as pinpointing one thing that said, well, this was the difference, there wasn't. Right? Opportunity was there for me the next year. We're a real young team. He said, DeBoer was like, hey, we're in a rebuilding phase here. We're seeing what we got, and you're going to be a big part of that. So I came in expecting big things for myself. Did I expect to, have as good a year as that? And, fortunately, we made it all the way to Game 7 of the Stanley Cup of the OHL Finals that year.
Wow.
Out of nowhere, and I led the team, led the league in playoff scoring, and got drafted that year. Went to training camp. 2 months later, I'm playing with Keith Primo and John Leclerc.
Exactly.
Starting off on my first NHL game. It was just like it was just so quick. It happened so quick with me. I didn't have a time to digest it or see what happened. Just things just really happened really quick for me.
Yeah, I was gonna say, you turned around. You, like you just said, you ended up, I think, with 30 points in the playoff run there with Plymouth, and then like you said, you're drafted. Actually, you're in training camp. When you went into training camp, was there a night? Okay, look, I can make the team. Obviously you're gonna try your best, but did you think you were gonna make the team? You end up playing 63 games that year, 12 goals, 13 assists for a 19-year-old kid. Pretty fucking impressive.
Yeah. I mean, did I expect to make the big bad Philadelphia Flyers at 6 foot, 165, 70 pounds? No, I did not. Now, see, I just came in and wanted to, show my stuff. And, I was a confident kid. I was confident in myself. Did I expect to make the team? Absolutely not. That's just silly. And they were expecting me back in junior as well. Peter DeBoer would be like, hey, when are you coming back?
Yeah,
like,
he wasn't happy.
And I was like, I don't know. I'm just playing, and that's that. And as I said, it just happened really quickly for me. And the players that I was able to be around in my first couple of years in Philadelphia was amazing when I look back at it. And just, they plopped me right next to Keith Jones and Rick Tocchet. And the banter coming from both sides of the ear
I could imagine.
It was unbelievable. I was like, I just kept my mouth shut and just listened and laughed to everyone from Chris Therien to, Dan McGillis to Mark Recchi to Kevin Stevens, these guys that are right around me, right? I just enjoyed my time there and learned a lot.
Yeah, I mean, we were talking about this again before, and like you said, Recchi, Talk. I mean, Gags was young. Yeah, Rico, Eric Desjardins, one of my favorite guys. JR, your next year, Jeremy Roenick's there. Luke Richardson, I don't know if I said him, but
Luke was
all
there,
those guys you missed.
Primo,
Preems. I mean, like for a kid, like you said, you come into camp, probably you're going to do your best, but probably thinking you're not going to make it. When was it like, wow, this is that moment? I'm in NHL sitting beside Rick Tocchet when, game one starts that year. Is it when you're just like, wow, what's going on?
I think just that, I mean, I still remember putting the Flyers jersey on my first preseason game, and it was almost full. It was the first Union Center at the time.
Yeah.
It was full, and I was just, I'd never played in front of that many people, and I was like, this is just a preseason game. It was wild, but then that first, that first put the jersey on for that first game in the NHL was just amazing for me. And as I said, things happened really fast for me, so I wasn't able to have my time to decompress everything that had just occurred, but all I knew is I wanted to stay. I was loving it, and all I wanted to do is I wanted to stay, and I wanted to do the best I could and everything I could to learn from the guys that are in front of me and stay. And having Gags there, Simon Gagne, the first year, having the success that he had the year before, I was hoping to do the same.
Right.
And you had Ken Hitchcock there first year.
No.
I had Craig Ramsey my first year.
Oh, yeah, Craig Ramsey,
then he got fired, and then Bill Barber came in, and then Ken Hitchcock. So I had three in my first 5 years.
Did Hitch ever say, Willy, will you play the right way?
I have a lot of Hitch stories. I mean, a lot of Hitch stories.
Riles was worried you got into the blueberry bagels, and I said I don't think Willy did. So we'll leave it at that.
I didn't, but one of the main things he was hard on me, and that's totally fine. Pete DeBoer was really hard on me in junior as well. Like I'm totally fine with that. Getting yelled at, whatever. Like I'm fine with that. But one of the funny things, Hitch, I came off the bench, and he had already given it to me a couple times earlier on in the game, and I know I'm not a guy who's going to dump the puck in all the time. I'm always trying to make a play, right? So I infuriate coaches at times. I do. I do. It didn't matter. It's like my last couple years with Roddy here in Carolina, he's just like, I got to deal with those bad things because I know some good things are coming, right? Hopefully. They became few and far between the later I got. But I came off the ice, went to the bench, sat down, and it wasn't a good shift. And Hitch just looked at me and goes, Willy, go sit over there. You're done for the night. And I was like, oh, no. It's only the second period. So I went and sat at the end of the bench, and I was done for the night. But I had some good stories for sure.
Yeah,
I'm sure. But what was the conversation your first year there with Rammer, just around your role and your situation being a young guy coming in with a lot of experience on the team?
Yeah, I mean, getting that opportunity from Craig Ramsey, from Rammer, I mean, I don't get that opportunity if he's not the head coach. I truly believe that. I know, Bobby Clark and Paul Holmgren, they liked me as a player, but, I think they were thinking, maybe a year down the road or maybe 2 years. But, Ramsey was like, I want to give this kid a shot. And he sure gave me a shot. As I said, starting my first NHL game with Primo and Leclerc. I mean, that's a shot if you ever wanted one. I just went about my business and just tried to get better, tried to learn from all these guys that were around me. And Philly was a great spot for me to start with.
Yeah, we're in a lot of happy people when you got traded. I'll say that. We'll leave it there. But in saying that, for you, what a trade!
Yeah,
you get traded to Carolina. I think for Danny Markov, Danny was known for smoking under the bleachers, a pack in between periods. Great
pack.
guy. Oh, fucking darts going. You can smell it everywhere. And he also did something that's really hard to do. He got in trouble for going the wrong way on the bridge. On Walt Whitman.
That's impressive.
That's a legendary story, isn't
it?
Do your listeners know about that story?
I don't know if we ever told that one, but
I don't think so. No.
Oh man, it's crazy. But anyway, you get traded. Some of the guys, like if you look at that list of players too, Ron Francis, Roddy Brindamore, Colsey. I used to love Colsey or Cole. I had with USA Hockey a few times.
Yeah.
Ray Whitney, Kami. What a group you guys had there.
Yeah, no, it was pretty special. And the thing with Danny Markov, I think the first time I came in the dressing room, Ron Francis says, "I don't know much about you, Willie, but the dressing room smells a lot better right now."
Yeah.
there was no smoke smell because guys who smoke cigarettes. I mean, that it's like a cloud that just follows you around, right?
Dirty cloud,
100%.
Yeah, so that's funny. But yeah, that team was amazing. I think you always look back, certainly with the teams you win, and say, wow, what great characters we had on that team. And, and there really was. And the hockey circle is small. It still is pretty small. So I'm able to keep in touch with a lot of guys. And certainly with technology nowadays, it makes it a lot easier. But at the same point, it's harder to be real good friends with everybody, right? When they all have their own lives and they're in different countries, different states. But I'm glad I've been able to keep in touch with a lot of them.
Yeah. Sure. I was gonna say I was at the trainers meetings when you guys were playing. I think Game 6 and Game 7, and I don't know if you remember Timmy Parr.
Yeah.
The Bauer rep.
Yeah,
Timmy.
The rep. Yeah.
Yep. So we're all down there. I'm with all the Bauer guys, and we're pulling for you guys, Carolina. But what I was going to say is I just remember if you got that final goal, the empty net, like, could you even believe, like, were you like, I can't imagine the elation and the feeling knowing you're getting ready to put this thing away. And then in 20 minutes, you're going to lift the Stanley Cup.
Yeah.
It had to be an amazing feeling.
Yeah. I mean, Laviolette was, getting the opportunity that he gave me the next year too. I mean, just like all the coaches before me, like, they gave me such an opportunity. I'm like, why am I on the ice with like a minute left in a Game 7 when like Doug Waite and Mark Recchi and all these, like, why am I out here? So I wanted to make sure that, I did my part and did my job and did it well and didn't let anybody down. Right. And it was quite a moment, one that I'll remember forever, kind of an iconic picture that, I'll always cherish and getting that goal. I mean, nowadays 2-goal deficit with a minute to play is not insurmountable.
True.
But back then we knew it was pretty much locked up.
That's unbelievable.
Sorry for the quick break. Little message from our friends at Game Time, gametime.co. Nasty, check out any concerts, any games recently?
Yeah, you know what? I jumped on Game Time a couple weeks ago, grabbed 2 tickets for me and Elvis to the Phillies game, and I'm telling you, it's one of the easiest things you can do. One of my favorite things is that you get the panoramic view of your seats and where you're going to be. And one of the other things I definitely like about the Game Time app is that it shows you the total up front. None of the surprise fees at checkout that you see a lot of times when you're like, oh, here's the pricing. And then by the time you check out, it's another $100 on top of it. They do a great job with that. They show you right up front when it's going to be. So definitely you got to use the Game Time app. We got football coming up.
Oh yeah.
And we're busy with the show and doing other things. So it's nice to be able to hop on last minute and grab tickets.
Exactly. That's how life works sometimes, last minute. And it's an amazing app, easy to navigate, all in pricing, seat views, and lowest prices guaranteed. I know you love that, Nast.
I do.
Game Time ticket coverage, meaning your purchase is covered with the most flexible customer service policy in the ticketing industry. Take the guesswork out of buying concert tickets, sports tickets with Game Time.
Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code NASTY for $20 off your first purchase.
Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem NASTY, NASTY, for $20 off.
Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. So Willy, moving on from it's your first cup, right? So, in 2008, 2009 season, you ended up getting traded. But one of the things I wanted to ask you is like, you're still obviously fairly young. You got a lot of hockey left. I mean, this may be a dumb question, but did you winning that cup, does it make you hungrier to win it again?
I think so. I mean, I'm not a drug addict, but I would imagine it's kind of like a high, right? You get a high.
Of course.
Like, man, I just want to do that again, right? And that's, I guess, probably the best way I can explain it. Like we got it, and I was like, oh man, that was so cool. I'd really love to do that again if we could get the opportunity. So, fortunately for me, it was good towards the end of my career. I didn't have to like chase cups,
right,
which was easier kind of when I was able to hang it up. But I'm sure that's for later in the conversation. But you win one, and it's always just like, get me there again, please, just get me there.
Seemed like they were chasing you at one point.
Yeah, I know, that's the truth. Like I said, you're traded to the Kings, and then looking back, and I'm pretty big hockey nerd, so I kind of remember. I watch hockey all the time, but just some of the guys in LA, you go to another team with just some really special players. Not that other teams don't have those kind of guys, but I'm thinking of Andrzej Kopitar is one of my favorite players in the league. You had Jared Stoll, Greener, Matt Green. Like I had him a couple times in USA Hockey. What a fucking guy he is! Like like guys like that, D'Lo Brown, Dustin Brown. I loved him, and you end up with Richie and Karts. Back in LA and all that, but Drew Doughty. But talk a little bit about your time there, like, and what that was like.
Yeah, it was great. I mean, it's really hard to find a tough thing to say about playing hockey in Los Angeles. I mean, I guess you're under the radar a little bit. But when we were there, like the Lakers stunk, the Clippers weren't any good. He's like, we were the show in town. Like, we were the show, and we were the team that was winning. We were the team that people were talking about, that we were getting more headlines than everybody else. Like it was great. And then when you did have a bad day, you said, you know what? I'm just gonna go out on the beach. Life ain't so bad.
Right.
When Darryl Sutter is just riding you, and you just want to get out of there, and then you go to the beach and you're like, all right, life ain't so bad. It's okay. Let's get let's reset here, and let's come back tomorrow and be good. So it was great. It was an awesome time. And our general manager there, Dean Lombardi, he's been writing a book for years right now, and I can't wait for it to be finished. He's talking to a lot of guys and stuff. So Dean's in the Flyers organization right now.
Yeah.
And such a great guy, such a smart guy. I love talking to him, so I'm looking forward to that book when it comes out.
Yeah, that'll definitely
be a good one.
I didn't realize he was writing one. That's awesome. That will be good. But you brought up Darryl Sutter, and anytime we have guys on, like Craig Berube played for him, Johnny Stevens worked with him, obviously there in LA. And
has Johnny been on?
Oh yeah. So Johnny, I said, come on, Johnny. Like, he's Mr. Serious. Like, we broke him down, but he told us a couple. I've heard stories from Richie, from Carter, from Chief. Just great story. Boosh played for Darryl, and but he told us a story about one night. Matt Green's having a tough time handling the puck there. He's chopping it up a bit. And Johnny says Greener comes off the ice, and next thing you know, this stick comes flying by, almost hits Johnny, and hits the glass, lands, and Johnny turns around, and I guess it was a left-handed stick, and Darryl said, Greener, try that one, because he's right-handed teammate. Try that one.
He would. There's just literally, there's so many stories you can tell. I mean, there was one where Drew Doughty was getting up in the play so much that he was like the fourth forward. He kind of is anyway.
Right.
But Darryl's good on structure, and so Drew just came off the play. He was just on another rush up the ice, and he comes back the ice, and he sits down, and Darryl looks at him and goes, "What are you doing?" And Drew's like, "What?" He's like, "Well, get back out there." He's like, "Well, there's 2D out there." He's like, "No, right wing." And Drew's like, "What?" he's like, so he went out there right wing, and then when he tried to come off, he's like, no, you stay out there. You want to play forward? You just play forward all game. And it's we're sitting there, we're giggling in our, like, what is going on here? But it was funny. There's just a ton of stories like that. He just kept you on your toes, that's for sure. You never know what's going to happen, and you always got to be ready. And I the mad scientists of coaching, like, they know what they're doing and they have a plan, and there's different messages, but you catch him away from the rink and he's just, super nice, fun, super guy. But when it's game day, it's game day. Like, it's go, it's game on.
That sarcasm's classic. Hey, you just gotta be ready for it. You know it's coming.
Yeah.
Chief loves telling stories about Darryl, and they're all good, like you said. See, I think Johnny told us also one night one of the goalies had a tough game, and Darryl's supposed to go to do the his interviews, and he sent the goalie coach. Said, "You go fucking do it. This is on you tonight," or something like that. But speaking of goalies, when you guys won, Jonathan Quick. That 1 year, well, I mean, both years he was great, but it was one of the most unbelievable goalie performances that I can remember seeing. I mean, I know there's been a ton of very good goalie, especially you got to have a hot goalie to win the cup. Everybody knows that, but he was just ridiculous.
It was the single most impressive stretch of hockey that I've ever witnessed from a goalie, and the purists and the older guys are going to be, what about this, what about that? I'm like, I don't know anything about that, but all I know is Jonathan Quick in 2012 was amazing, like absolutely amazing. There'd be times when you'd start a game and you could tell when a goalies are in the zone, right? You can, everybody can kind of tell, and when you see him in that zone, you're like, oh boy, I don't think one's getting by tonight. We might just have to get one tonight, boys. Just one.
Good feeling to have, I'm sure.
I mean, I don't know if it was unanimous, but it sure should have been that he won that Conn Smythe that year, because he was phenomenal.
Yeah, he was amazing. An old teammate was there with you too. I just thought about that, Riles. Simone Gagne, who you started with in Philly, ended up, I forgot about Gags winning that cup there. But those teams were fun to watch, and it was you guys were kind of sandwiched in with the Blackhawks, and both teams. Like, I just couldn't wait to watch those games because they were so excited. Both you guys were so good at that time in those years.
Yeah, they were. I mean, there was a stretch there for six years or so that, it was Chicago or LA coming out of the Western Conference.
Yeah, for sure.
I know they won theirs in, I think, 2011, 2013.
Well, they beat us 2010.
10. Okay, yeah. Anyway, they won 3. I know that.
Exactly. They won 3. And so
they won 3, but they were a phenomenal team, absolutely. And to this day, Chicago is one of the best arenas to play in. It's phenomenal. It's in my top 3 for sure, along with other than the home teams I played with. I'm not going to leave them out, but I love going on the road and playing in Montreal, Chicago, and New York City. I love those 3 arenas. They're the best. They were the greatest atmospheres, and the anthem in Chicago will forever be etched in my brain as one of my best memories.
Willie, speaking of that, I got to go to, when I was in college, my dad was working with Clarkie with Minnesota with the North Stars before they had gone to Dallas. That's how old I am. I shouldn't have said that. But anyway, I flew in for Christmas to hang out with him, and we were in Kalamazoo, Michigan, but we went up to the stadium, the old stadium, and just to do the anthem. So I went in, we watched first period, but I mean, it's great. And the new, obviously it's great there as well. But when you're in this smaller one, it was one of the most amazing things I'd ever seen. It was just a regular season game, but it was one of the loudest things I'd ever heard. Like it was really, really cool.
Yeah, it's amazing. They have like Ted Nugent playing in there and just before the warm up goes, and they're just wheeling on the ice. I'm like, this is awesome. It's all about the intro songs. Yeah.
Oh,
Stranglehold. I think Ted Nugent's Stranglehold. They had that scene pumping, and you just
Yeah,
wheeling around the ice, being like, "This is awesome."
You know what never gets old to me, and it's an old song. Not to go backwards here, but in Raleigh, when you crank "Rock You Like a Hurricane," I don't care how old that song is, it just sounds good, man. I remember Riggs just even 3 years ago, just walking over the bench and the teams are getting ready to come out and they're cranking. I'm like, this song still rocks, man. I don't
good.
It's loud, like it rocks, bro. I kind of want to move on. So you win the 2 cups in LA. Everything's great. Conn Smythe winner as well. And you sign with the Capitals. At this point, you're Mr. Game 7 basically, and teams. I'm sure you had a lot of people trying to sign you, but you signed with the Capitals. I was wondering about what made you sign there, and did you start to maybe feel pressure because of how well you had done in your career? I don't want to say like pressure, like, oh my God, but like, hey, they're expecting me to do a job. And, did you feel it a little bit more now that you'd won 3 and basically had become Mr. Game 7?
Yeah. I mean, at some point in your career, you have to take on the responsibility of being a leader. The longer you are in the game, like, you can't just fade off into the, can we stop barking? My dog's barking. Anyway, so you can't be bashful about it. You have to embrace it, right? And that was the best way for me to do it. Yes, at that time I'd won 3 Stanley Cups. I'm going to a team. I know what they want me for. They want me for leadership, for a guy that's kind of been there, and a guy can maybe say the right thing at the right time when it matters most. And Washington was a team who was great every single year. They've been great for a long time. President's Cup trophy winners, the whole thing, right? And just couldn't get over the hump. And I knew what I was coming there for, and I was excited about it. To be able to play with the caliber of players that were on that team. It was amazing. To say, hey, your centerman's either going to be Nicholas Backstrom or Evgeny Kuznetsov.
Yeah, not bad.
How's that? I said, that sounds awesome. That sounds terrific. I'd love sign me up, please. So it was great. Unfortunately, in my 2 years there, we did not win. We lost twice to the Cup champion Pittsburgh Penguins. They went back to back that year, but I was really happy for them the next year that they actually ended up winning the whole darn thing next year.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I was gonna say, you guys. I think the 2 years you were there, you guys won the President's Trophy, if I'm not mistaken. I always say that's kind of a jinx, but teams have won after they've done that. But what was it? Do you think just that you ran into the eventual champs is in Washington there, not getting past those second rounds? Obviously, sometimes you get a bit in the way they do it now. You could play. I hate the way they do it now a little bit because 2 of the best teams sometimes end up playing in the first round. But what do you think it was in Wash?
Yeah, I mean, the first year we lost to Pittsburgh in 6 games, and then the next year we were down 3-1 to Pittsburgh. We won the next 2, and I was so confident that we were going to win that game 7. I was ready for it, and I felt in the dressing room, I really felt that that was the time, right? That we were going to get over a hump, and it was one blemish that I do have. We ended up losing 2-0. They played extremely well. They've got great players in their team too. Champions, absolute champions on that team as well. And we just didn't get the job done. I mean, the margin of error in any hockey series it's tiny. It's absolutely tiny. It's, can you get that timely scoring or that timely save or that that jolt that you need? And there's a little bit of luck that goes into it as well. Which team's the healthiest. But those were probably 2 of the top 4 best teams in the NHL playing off in the second round, and somebody has to lose. But I was truly happy for them next year when they weren't expected to win. They went out and did it, and I was happy for them that they found a way.
What this is a dumb question. I don't know if you've probably been asked this many times, but I always ask guys, like, obviously I've seen Ovi play a ton of times, but what's it like on a day-to-day basis, seeing that guy on the ice, his shot, like just everything?
Yeah, I'm amazed at the girth. Like, he is huge.
Yeah.
You know, the guys that just have chests out to here, and you're just like, this guy is massive. You run into him and you knock the air out of you, right? So just his size and even in practice, he would just be ripping one-timers, and they would just be going bar down. And I mean, that power play for years was an amazing thing, and he's still getting it done nowadays. But he was a really fun guy to be around, and he's a guy's guy. And there's a lot of Ovi stories that are terribly funny. And he's kind of like Manny Ramirez in baseball. Manny being Manny, right?
Yeah,
it's just like, oh, that's Ovi. That's don't worry, that's just Ovi being Ovi. And when they went on that cup run, I mean, he did everything that a captain should. And perhaps those are things that he didn't do before then. And he was all about team. He would block a shot. He'd do everything that was in his power to get a cup, and I was happy he did get one.
It was nice to see him get that, for sure. Now
I wish I was there. Don't
I know.
I was there.
Well, I was gonna say, then you're 9-0, right? In game 7. You're still a pretty good record though, Willie. Like, geez. So you're there 2 years, and then you sign back, like you said earlier. You go back to Carolina, and your next 3 seasons, I believe, are there. What was that like, finishing up, in Raleigh, and now you're still there, which is great.
Yeah, it was great. My wife and I loved it when we were here. We obviously had a lot of success. My wife's a Philly girl. What was, it's really kind of unique about North Carolina is it's a little bit slower pace. There's it's a growing city. There's tons of people moving here every day. And one of the best examples I can get is my wife went to the grocery store, and she's, Philly girl, wants to hurry up and get these things going. Let's go. I got to get out of here. And then the lady at the front's like, how y'all doing? What are you making tonight? Oh, you have some family coming down. And they're just so nice and happy and helpful. Just the Southern hospitality type thing. And we really enjoyed it here. And when I had an opportunity to come back, I had my agent had called Ron Francis and been like, hey, is there interest here? Because Justin might be interested. And they said absolutely, and we worked out a deal, and I came back. And because when I did come back, North Carolina, like the Hurricanes, that they had gone 9 years without going to the playoffs, and that was, to me, kind of hurtful, because I'd seen this team at its best, right? Just to see it, what it was at. It was a half empty stadium. Just it just wasn't what I remembered when I left, and I have a lot of ties here. I have a lot of great friends here, and I just was hoping to bring it back to what it once was.
Yeah. Well, that second year there, you guys did get to the playoffs that next year. Didn't win it all, but you did get them back there. I was gonna ask you about. Well, I was gonna bring up you won 2 gold medals as well with World Championships with Team Canada, and Riles, I think I told you the story before, but Willy was playing Team Canada. We were actually playing them. We're in Moscow, and I think some of our boys might have they were out a little too long. Like, when I went to the Worlds, especially my first year, I went 2 years straight. I went to Latvia, and then the next year I was in Moscow. Willy was there with Team Canada, but I had never done this before, so I'm like, boy, this is gonna be like, they're gonna be so fired up, so focused. I get there, fucking guys coming in at 3 a.m. and the GM's sitting there having drink. I'm like, what is it? Like, what are we doing here? But anyway, we're in Moscow and we're playing Team Canada, and most of our guys were more worried about getting Shanny to sign the jersey, and Steve Yzerman as well. Shanny might have been the year before, actually, in Latvia. I can't remember. But Steve Yzerman, a bunch of guys brought jerseys, and they were asking, like, during the game, like, but Willy came off the ice after the first period. We just weren't ready to play. I think you guys were up like 3 rip right away or something. And Willy, they had to pass where we were walking, and Willy walks by and goes, holy fuck, Nas, boys, out a little late last night or what? And I said, Obviously, they were. We
Well,
were not ready for that game, but I just wanted to mention you did win 2 golds in World Championships.
Yeah, those were a lot of fun going to those things, and I highly recommend those for everybody. But more so, the young guys who go over there, and you meet a lot of great players from around the league. You get to see some great cities over in Europe. It's pretty sweet. When I was in Prague, like Prague is such an awesome city.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, those first couple weeks they're a lot of fun, and then when it's medal elimination time, then that's where you buckle down and
Yeah.
and really dial it in a little bit.
It was funny because Stan Wilson was your guys' head equipment guy who's legendary. Started Winnipeg, was in Arizona, and now he's still actually working with the team in Utah. But his son Denver was a teenager, and he's there trying to help. Right. Well, Denver wanted to hang around with me, so every 20 minutes, Stan would be walking down and going, "Hey, Denver, get out of the U.S. room and come back down here." He's got all his Canada shit on, and he's like, "Oh yeah, Dad, I'll be right there." He's like, "No, get down here." Like literally, he would leave. I'd be doing something. 10 minutes later, here comes Denver, like rolling back down. Stan 10 minutes later, "Denver, get the fuck out of their room. Let's go." I was like, just let it work for us. What's the difference, man? He's like, he's got to do work down here. But they were fun, man. I really enjoyed that. Those 2 World Championships I got to do for sure. I know recently we were trying to link up with you, but you had your Kings reunion, 10 years already. Fucking time flies, eh?
Yeah, it's wild. Yeah, last week we went to 2 years before it was a 10-year reunion for the 2012 team, and then this summer was the reunion for the 2014 team, and I actually had. It seems awful to say, but sometimes you forget who was on what team. I actually had to pull up the roster and be like, was he on that team? I think he was. I had to pull up the roster and be like, okay, no, yeah, he was there, right? So you just kind of forget a little bit, but then. Listen, you get a bunch of hockey guys around, and then you just start. We just go on and start, telling stories. And you mentioned Matt Green. He's got a memory like, was it elephants that have good memories?
Yes.
Yeah. He's got a memory like, he just sparks off. Just, you remember this, you remember this, you remember this, and then you just start yammering and having fun. And it's really great to get along with the guys. And it's really special that the Kings do that, because not every team does that. Right. They brought us in and put us up for a couple of days at a nice resort, and obviously had some social media stuff there just to cover it and stuff. But really, really awesome of them to do, and a chance for you to reminisce and talk about the best times in your life.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, it must have been nice.
Imagine.
I wanted to ask you, Willie, one of those 2 years you guys won, I think you went the whole playoffs without an injury. Correct me if I'm wrong on that. It was one of those 2 Stanley Cups that you guys won. Is that correct? There's no injuries in playoffs? No man.
You mean everybody played?
Yeah, exactly. There was no one was pulled out of the lineup for injuries.
Yeah, so 2012 was just like I don't know what, it was just an absolute anomaly. We obviously had Jonathan Quick, who was stopping everything in sight. We were a super healthy team, and we were up 3-0 in all 4 series that we played. So when you say adversity, there was a little bit of that, because in the finals we won the first 3, then lost the next 2, end up winning Game 6. But the next time in 2014, we really paid for that being ahead in every series, because we played 7 and then 7 and then 7 the first 3 rounds. So it was a little bit different, but we as I said, a little bit of that luck, Coates, is a little bit of luck and staying healthy, and that's an important part of winning a Stanley Cup as well.
A big one, yeah. And then I wanted to kind of build into my next question, was early in your career and then maybe middle of your career, you had some pretty significant injuries.
Yeah.
With I think an ACL tear, torn Achilles tendon, and from what I read, it sounds like you're a super healer of some sort, coming back almost like half the time. Can you talk about that?
No, when I was there, Jimmy McCrossan, who's just the best. I love that guy. He was with me through my first injuries there, my first ACL in Philly. But I had a really tough time in Carolina a couple of years after we won the cup. I was just getting peppered over and over and over. I had an ACL happen the second time, and then I recovered, played the last game of the season. We didn't make playoffs. Then right before the start of next season, the first day before training camp, I tore my Achilles doing some training, doing the beep test. So then I was out for that. And then I came back from that, and 2 weeks later I had a broken hand, and then the next year I had shoulder surgery. So these things just really piled on me for like 4 straight years. And it really got me to thinking like, okay, well, I mean, do you still have what it takes? Do you still want this? How hard are you willing to work? And, do you believe you can get yourself back? And all the answers was always yes. When someone finishes their hockey career, everyone always talks about the great times, right? That's all you hear about. Oh, he was this, he was that, this is what he did. It must have been an awesome time, but people forget about the down times. There's for all those smiles after guys winning Stanley Cups, there's a lot of tears. There's a lot of pain between the eyes, right? And I had a lot for 4 years there. And thankfully I was able to overcome it with a lot of help, a lot of family support, and, other people still believing in me.
Yeah, no doubt. That must have been tough, obviously mentally challenging. But was there something to at least a couple of those injuries where you came back, maybe before, like significantly before that you're supposed to, or is that just,
Yeah, I mean, I guess I think when doctors give timelines, it's just for the average person, right? And the average person doesn't have the access that we have to the best medical therapy over and over every day, and the ability just to rehab it a lot quicker. And obviously, we're professional athletes. We're in good shape as well. So, they give you timelines, and I was able to come back really quick. I was able to come back in 10 and a half weeks from an ACL. I came back, I believe, in 11 and a half weeks or 12 weeks from the Achilles injury.
Jesus.
Yeah, in hindsight, it was probably maybe a little too early. I don't know, but I felt fine out there. I didn't feel like I was going to hinder myself when I went out there. And the good thing is when you have an Achilles injury, it's not like you're a basketball player or a football player, right? Like you don't have to jump. Your foot is in a boot. It's stabilized. So the moment you start to feel comfortable and you have your power back, there's no reason why you can't go out and play, right? So obviously the body needs its time to heal and everything, but fortunately for me, I attributed those things, Coates, to bad luck, and that was the best way to do it. There's nothing I'm doing. Just believe what I'm doing is going to be fine. I just had a little bit of bad luck, and that's going to be behind me, and I'm just going to look forward from here on in. And that's what I was able to do. And I was able to play 81, 82 games consistently throughout the last 5-6 years of my career, which I'm real proud of.
Yeah. Riles, I don't know. This is I'm starting to put a link here between that summer of '99 and Willy being able to get better so fast. No, I'm kidding. But that's awesome. I wanted to ask you now, like you're working with the Hurricanes. I'm sure like players probably try to lean on you, and maybe has anyone like come up to you just like, hey, like pressure situation, because you guys have been like a very relevant team the last few years with, Roddy's done an unbelievable job. I love watching when they show on TV or on social media, his pre-games talking about that. I love the way he's walking around the room. Like he makes me, I get jacked up, but I just wondered if any of those players, like obviously they know who you are. Maybe even some there still played with you. But does anyone ever come to you for like maybe just some advice, off to the side? Hey, what are you seeing? What am I doing? What could I do? Anything like that?
Yeah, no, absolutely. I mean, I'm around, and that's, hopefully what I'm there for, just for people to beat some ideas off of. Right. And, I really thought last year we were going to do it. We had a great team, and, unfortunately didn't get it done, but, we've got great leaders on this team, and we've got a great team, and I'm hopeful and I'm very confident that we can get over the hump of, getting to getting the second round is great. Getting to the third round is great, but you have a certain windows, right? And
Right.
we're hoping to capitalize on those windows, which we think are right now. And we've got some great leaders. I mean, Sebastian Aho is a great hockey player, and he's, to answer your question, yes, he's come up to me many times that, about, hey, what do you think about this? What do you think the message could be? Jordan Stahl, the captain's been there a ton of times. Obviously, play with those two guys as well. So, um, being a leader is not copying somebody. It's taking little pieces of what everybody, the guys that you respect, that you played with, that you can bring into your own. And fortunately for me, from the get go, from the Eric Desjardins to the John Leclerc's to the Rick Takas to the Keith Primos that I started with, Luke Richardson's. I mean, I take little pieces of everyone that I respected and I liked, and I try to make it my own. And for the new leaders of tomorrow and right now of today in Carolina, they're doing the same thing as well. So we got a great team here, and last year I thought it was going to be it, but maybe this year is going to be it.
It's funny. My mom still lives down in North Carolina, and
yeah,
and that play, especially when any team down south, like, because you're around Duke, you're around NC State, North Carolina, Wake Forest is in Winston, but any teams are doing well, it's awesome. But when the Hurricanes are doing well, man, that building is electric. And my mom, she called me one night, and I'm like, it's kind of late for my mom. She's like, I went to the Hurricanes game, and it was just awesome.
Yeah.
That place is nuts. I don't think I ever saw it like that when you guys played, when the Flyers were playing there. I was like, no, it's like, it is awesome. Watching on TV, you got to ring that you're ringing the thing. And you had the Nature Boy there one time. But anyway, it's a great atmosphere, and it's fun to watch it. And I thought, like you said, like we talked about it when the playoffs were starting, man, you guys are going to be a tough out. Like, hopefully you get over the hump here in the next year or two or whatever. Like you said, that window people forget how hard it is to win. Like, how hard it is. You were fortunate enough to win 3 times, but it's not easy. It's not an easy thing.
No, there's a lot of great players that just haven't won. It's not because they're not great players or they're not great leaders or they're not, they're not great people. It's just really hard to do, right? I mean, there's 32 teams now, 31.
Yeah.
It's a hard thing to learn, and it's as I said, it takes a lot of things to go your way. You got to build the team, you got to be healthy, and you got to have big time efforts from a lot of different players. So that's why we love the game, and that's why I look at playoff time and you say, gosh, I'd love to be out there, but it's such a great game.
It is.
That's the truth.
Riley's just getting into pickleball, Willy.
Oh yeah.
And so Homer, people are gonna be mad. I just said this the other day to Danny, but we go to the Flyers game. We go to most of the games, the home games, and Homer's got a cut on his face, Willy. And I said, what are you doing? You getting a fight somewhere? Like whatever. And he was like, I'm playing pickleball. I was like, I said, the warden, we call Doreen his wife, who's awesome. Yeah. He calls her the warden.
The warden.
So I said, the warden club you won? Because she plays sometimes. Yeah. He's like, no, I don't. I think I kind of like dove and I missed the ball and I hit myself in the face. But Riley plays with him quite a bit now. But I was going to ask you, I saw a picture of you and Roddy playing pickleball. Yeah. And I think you had said, he hasn't totally got it yet, but do you think Roddy's like secretly practicing? Because he's such a competitor too, right?
Yeah, no, pickleball it's a lot of fun, and when you're done playing hockey, you want some competitive juices somewhere, right? So I get mine from golf, from tennis, from pickleball, and watching hockey now. But Roddy was when I played him, we had like a little exhibition here. I mean, he's just all brute strength. There's not much to it. Yeah. He is pounding it at you, and it's coming hard. And I wouldn't want it any other way with Roddy.
Yeah, that's awesome, man. What a great man.
Yeah.
The pickleball is quite the sport. It took me a little while to kind of, understand the strategy behind it. Yeah. And, because you, like myself, probably similar to Roddy, like probably overwork and probably overdo it. So I had to like really be humbled by the game and kind of like stay in position and like place these shots nicely.
Yeah,
but
you're not gonna outwill anybody in that game.
No, you're not. I know, right?
Oh, that's awesome.
Gotta get Nasty out there. He's still.
I played a little bit. I actually enjoy it. I played a lot of tennis growing up, so I really like pickleball. I just don't have Riles is too busy to play with me, Willie.
Yeah, when you can get like Riles, when you can get like 3 people the same talent level as you, it can be a lot of fun, and it truly is.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
Awesome.
We appreciate you, Willie.
Thank you so much, man.
Yeah, no the insights. Amazing career. Congrats on all your successes.
Thanks, fellas. Glad we can make it work.
No
Thank
doubt.
you so much. I gotta say,
my dog has been just the whole time just like
looking at that ball.
He doesn't want any attention.
Giving me the ball and just like barking nonstop. It's like you might see me a couple of times just batting him away, like get away.
Willie, before we let you go again, like Riley said, thank you so much for your time, man. I know you're busy and everything, but I gotta say, like, you're one of the best guys in hockey. Like, you always, and I think you kind of said it earlier, learning from so many great people, but you always treated us well, trainers wise, even, I'm on a different team, but you're just a great guy. We appreciate you, man. And congratulations on a great career. And I have a feeling you're going to be doing something more sooner than later with in hockey as well, more than you're doing now. But thanks again, brother.
Oh, shucks, Nasty. Thanks a lot, buddy. Appreciate it.
You're welcome, my man. Thanks again.
Have a good one, boys.
All right, big thank you to our friend Justin Williams, Willie, for hopping on. What an awesome dude.
Awesome guy, Mr. Game 7. But like I said there at the end, like he's such a good guy. And it's funny when he was in the beginning where he's like, he can't tell people no. I'm glad he didn't tell us no, but I know what he's talking about. Like, he gets pulled in every direction, just like you. I mean, all you guys for doing events and interviews and shit like that. But he's just such a good guy. He really is. He always has been. He never changed.
Never changed. Yeah, so grounded, so humble.
Very, very. It was awesome. I remember I meant to. There's so many things we could talk about with him, but I remember the last year he played in Carolina. They did the morning skate, and then he came down and he sat with Harry and I for about probably an hour. Just sat down on the chair. We were just sitting in the hallway talking, and I'm like, "You got to play tonight." He's like, "Nast." He's like, I'm fine. I don't need a nap. Like, I'll be fine for the game. It was his last year. It was right near the end of the season as well. So, but yeah, great guy. Just a good man, a great hockey player. Like we said, 1,264 games, 320 goals, 477 assists. The guy was a big time player, like big time player. When the money was on the line, baby.
That's right. That's the truth. Yeah. And he's going to do a hell of a job there. Well, he's going to continue to do a hell of a job there in Carolina and figuring out his role and figuring out what he wants to do, but just being a sounding board for these guys. You're not going to find a better guy around the locker room, the building, to go and, bounce a few ideas off of, these guys.
Exactly.
Class act. So wish him the best. And look forward to reconnecting with him sooner than later.
Yep. I'm going to play pickleball with him. Supposedly he's just ridiculous. Well, he's a hell of an athlete.
He is, yeah.
He's like good at everything. But anyway, we thank you, Willie. You are the man.
Absolutely. And you know what time it is, Nast.
Is it time for Klyr Questions?
It's that time.
All right. Klyr Questions brought to you by Klyr Rum. Go to klyrrum.com/shop. Type in Nasty 2023 and get 35% off of your order. PA residents only.
John Hoverman on Facebook asks,
who?
Cote, who was the one guy you wanted to fight but never could? That one, it was 2 guys. Sean Avery.
Oh.
Faced him around a few times, and I've obviously had to fight Colton Orr. Got in a couple FU matches with the guy, and he had that face on. You just wanted to smack around.
Yeah.
And the other guy was David Clarkson. Yeah, I never got a chance to fight this guy. I jumped him in preseason. One time he turtled, but he kind of has a face too that you just want to smack around. He's always
his helmet was up. Yeah,
but
But you got to tell the story though behind that one though. That was it was crazy because you did want to kill him, and there's great audio. You were mic'd the one night, and you're like, "I'm gonna fucking hurt you."
You little fucking prick, I'm gonna fucking hurt you tonight. I'm gonna fucking hurt you. You fucking pigeon. Cocky fuck Clarkson. I'm gonna fucking hurt you. I'm gonna fucking hurt you. Fucking pigeon, you got fucking worked by Downs. Holy fuck, that worked.
But then we end up hanging out with him. He's actually a great guy.
Yeah, great guy, yeah.
It was so weird because you're like, I remember Richie was buddies with him, right? Mike
Yeah,
Richards,
right.
and he always said like he's a great guy. And then we end up with him for a weekend up in London, Ontario. And what a good dude. And you know what's funny? We hung out with him that weekend, and every time I saw him after that, he went out of his way to come say hi to me when he played, against the Flyers.
Yeah.
So
that's how it goes. He's got, a great guy.
Yeah.
Just a job, and they're puffing their chest out, and everyone,
Yep.
animosity. I actually ended up coaching his his brother down in Adirondack there too.
Oh yeah, okay.
Big dude there. But yeah, so yeah, well, there was two separate scenarios. Yeah, I think I tried to fight him every game, but the one preseason game where he was running around and I took a run at him, and I thought for sure, like, here he goes. So I just shed the mitts, grab him, and he turtles. And I was like, what the hell? And then the mic'd up one there where I was, threatening his life on the ice. That was throw that one up there. But
let Baller can throw that one up. Did you have a couple cups of coffee before that game?
A couple. Wash down.
You want to play good or you want to play great?
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my nervous system was a little bit jacked up there, Nass. A little bit fried.
Right. Hey,
still recovering.
Hey, the best is you're like, I'm gonna fucking hurt you. He's like, why?
Yeah,
because you're a dickhead on the ice.
Yeah, I know, right?
Dick.
Oh man,
I like. We got to get Clarky on, man. We got to get. Clarkson on.
He's
like, yeah. But yeah, great question. Thanks, Hove. See you tonight.
Absolutely. Frankie James on Facebook wants to know if you can compare Michkov to any player, who would be the closest comparison, past or present? Wow. What do you got, Nast? Hard to say. I've never seen this guy live.
That's what I mean. It's hard to. Yeah, exactly. Sorry, I didn't mean to interrupt you. From everything you see some clips here and there, but everything I've read, he's like one of those players that's like very deceptive and elusive, obviously. And they say he thinks the game like he's a couple steps ahead of. It seems like he's a couple steps ahead of everyone. He thinks the game is such a high level, and he's able to like create space to make plays. But I guess he's got an elite shot. So it's a lot if this all comes together, like everyone said. Well, everything that I've read about him, trying to think of who you can compare him to. Is the question meant compare him to a Flyer or
anybody in general,
or just anyone in general?
Yeah.
Well,
I mean, would it be bold and too aggressive to say something like a Connor Bedard? I mean, I was smaller, extremely skilled, creative player. I mean, Kucherov, right. I know Kuch is. I mean, that's a pretty bold one too.
Yeah,
some serious numbers there, but I mean, ultra creative. I mean, can pull something out of nothing.
Yeah, that's what they're saying. Like he's able to find areas of the ice too, and even in high traffic areas, supposedly he gets his shot off. And obviously, like I said, I've read a few people say he's got an elite shot, which so does Connor Bedard. Kuch is. I feel like Kuch is just on a different level. That guy, right. He's obviously one of the best players in the league. But another thing about Michkov is I guess it's a no-brainer. Him on a power play supposedly is like that's the one thing you don't have to worry about. He's that good, but obviously we'll see. You don't want to put too much on this guy, but I guess with his size, if I had to say someone, even though we only really got a small sample of the NHL with Bedard, I mean, he was hurt a little bit, but we saw enough. And I know you think he's going to score over 30 this year with your play with Bet365 last week. But yeah, I guess that's pretty good. I was thinking that question was meant as anyone from the Flyers, but yeah, I mean, that's because we haven't seen him. It's hard to say, but I'll go with Connor Bedard. He's about the same size, a lot of the same skill set, I guess.
Few picks later, I think if there wasn't any of that, let's say,
yeah,
baggage around drafting a Russian player, he may have, and his contract status might have gone higher.
Well, that's what they were saying. They thought he would be number 2.
Right,
a lot of people predicted him there, but there was some issues going on. So,
great question.
Yep.
Pop Joe MCC 21 over on IG says the number 31 has not been worn by a Flyers player since the tragic death of Pelle Lindbergh. Is that number unofficially retired, or is there another story behind it? As you may know.
Yeah. I just remember, obviously it was my dad was very tight with him, and I was fortunate enough to, spend time with Pelle Lindbergh, and he, obviously the tragic accident. I think I remember, my dad telling me that, Mr. Clark, Mr. Schneider's like, we're not giving that number out for a while, obviously. And then it turned into they haven't given it out in 30 years. It's almost 30 years now. It's not officially retired, but I guess that's a great question. I guess you could say it's unofficially retired. I always was like, probably later on, eventually they're going to be like, well, it's been this long, but they still haven't, you know, and I also don't know if anyone's ever asked for that number, to be honest. I know with the Phantoms, it's been worn. Neil Little wore 31.
Right.
But I would say it's unofficially retired. That's my guess. Because I guess, do you really want to come in as a GM and be like, okay, we'll be the first ones to have someone wear that number, even though, Pelle only played here a couple of years, a little over 2 years or whatever. But yeah, I would say unofficially retired. That's my guess.
What are your thoughts if Matvey rolls into Danny B's office and says, I want 31? How does that go down?
Wow. I don't know. That's a great question, but I don't think he will. I don't think he wants to wear 31.
You know what? You don't think so?
No, I don't. I just don't. I would think he'd want to wear 13.
Yeah, I know.
The Russians love that 13.
Oh, I love the 13. Yeah, probably a long shot, but
yeah,
there might be some wiggle room if he does really want 31. Danny,
I'm telling little guy no.
No, don't do it. Don't do it. Great question, though.
Yeah, it is a good question.
There we got Carl from New Jersey wants to know, will Tortorella bench Michkov this season? Pretty much a guarantee.
I mean, who has he not? Is there a player on the team he hasn't benched?
I know, right? Exactly. You was guarantee it. You may as well mentally prepare for it.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question, but I figured maybe once. Who knows?
He's gonna have an off day, off night.
Yeah, like
he's gonna have an off shift or period. I mean, and there will be a message sent.
I think, yeah, it's hard to say with Torch. You never know. Like, maybe it's depending on his mood too. But like, Torch is obviously we kid around a lot about the way he can snap and stuff like that. But he definitely realizes the potential this kid has and how special of a player it seems like that he is. Maybe he'll have and coming from over there, it's a different game, bigger ice and all of that. Hopefully he doesn't scare Matvey too much.
Yeah, I know, right?
But I'm sure it might happen at some point. It's basically happened to everyone that plays for him. So it doesn't matter who you are or what name's on your back there. It just depends on how you're playing.
Yeah. And I guess if for some odd reason in 82 games you don't get scratched, that means you did a hell of a job.
That's probably a good thing.
Maybe on the All-Star. At that point, it's not guaranteed.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, it's just the way it goes, and everyone's human here, so everyone has an off night or two, and just the way the game is. the room for error, and having a coach like Torts. I mean, it's just, especially a young guy, you know, these coaches almost go out of their way to like prove a point. Like sometimes they'd give a guy some space on a mistake that they would make, but for a young guy, they make sure that they overcoach it, or they really make a point out of it. So there'll be a few of those, and that's just part of it. And
for sure.
Be shocked about it. So
for sure.
Great question. We got Rich, not in Canada, on Twitter, wants to know if you would sign Yager to the Flyers right now.
To do what?
It's just be a great veteran.
Coach the power play.
Power play, yeah.
And nothing against Rocky. I don't mean that in a bad way.
Yeah.
I don't think Yogs can quite move.
You would put him on a line with Matvey?
You know what would be funny? Like, wouldn't it be kind of cool to see like 10 games with him playing on a power play with Michkov, just to see, like, you know, like, I don't know, put him in the slot, you know, like, I don't know. But I know one place he shouldn't be is on the half wall, because Chief used to tell him, you just wait to kill it off. He was massaging it on the half wall. You want Yog shooting that thing, but I don't think the Flyers should sign him unless it was for something else, because he's a great guy. Yeah, you talk about it. You talk about Willy being around for the Hurricanes and not really having a decisive role yet, which I'm sure he will. But could you imagine having Yogs in a few times a year to talk to kids, especially just having him there? They just be in awe and to see the shape that he's still in.
Yeah.
And, you know, it would be great. I would like look into it if I were the Flyers, just maybe bringing him over, even if it's one time, just coming in, you know, like, it's what a cool thing when you know, you see Yogs walking in a room, it everyone knows who he is, and it'd be pretty cool. But I don't think he could play anymore.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, having around, you know, as staff of some sort, consultant, whatever, perfect, but not as a player. I mean, love him. Obviously,
love him too. Yeah, great guy.
But speed might be a little bit off, you know.
Yeah,
these days, but give him a ton of credit and props for.
It's unreal.
Just keep giving her. Keeps living the dream. I remember hearing saying that, you know, he's talking about, you know, getting married. He's like, now I'm married to hockey, and I'll stay married to hockey as long as I can, and then move on. So he's still married to hockey. Just
he is,
let her buck. So great question. Moving on, Mark Sorensen wants to know: would you recommend players coming up to go the college route or play Tier 1 Junior A hockey? I think, you know, I mean, I'll just start here, but I think it all depends on the player themselves, and their skill level, and, you know, how they see themselves in the pro hockey game. I think, like, back when I was still playing, obviously there was a ton of fighting in the major junior leagues. I didn't have, you know, say college skill. It wasn't, you know, the way I played wasn't necessarily college. I never even thought about playing college. It was like, you know, Western Hockey League, 100% for sure. I know he's talking about Junior A, Tier 1 Junior A, but nonetheless, I think in that comparison, you have to choose one or the other, college or Western Hockey League. I think when you choose Junior A, you still have the ability to play college. You're not red-shirted. So I would say if you have the ability to go major junior, you really want to make sure that you know that's the path for you versus college. I think if you play Junior A, you still have the ability to go to college. So you're not like screwing yourselves out of that opportunity. So if you want to play it safe, play Junior A, and then you can always go to college, but you can also go to the Western League. But if you choose the Western League, major junior, you cannot go to college that year. You have to get redshirted, but you can still go to Junior A. But I don't know what your thoughts are on that, Nast.
Yeah, you know better than I do that, because of how you came up and where you played. But I did learn a little bit more about the junior game, at least in the U.S., working with the Rebels in the North American Hockey League the last 2 years, and seeing these kids come up, and you know, your age out year is 20. Your age out year is 20. And then you go to college. You obviously can go to college. You can also play in the USHL, which is the league just above the North American Hockey League. The funny thing is, Riggs, you know, if you're playing major junior, you're playing against 20-year-olds, right? Like you there's some older guys, but these guys that when they go to college, they're freshmen at 20 or 21, and they're playing against men at 24. I know it's not there's no fighting and everything, but college hockey is good hockey, and it's physical as hell because everyone's tough, right? You got a cage on. It kind of makes me laugh, but I think, like you said, it just depends on the player, and you end up having guys playing pro after their college, careers are over and signing as free agents. When that may not have happened if they, went another route. So I think it depends on the player, like you said.
Yeah. And their desire to get an education along with it. Like, do they actually really feel like they're going to play pro? There's a lot of questions there that can be answered, but smaller skill guy, maybe you're more of a college guy. That being said, I've seen a ton of small skill guys come out of the Western League or, some of these junior leagues. But I think it's just evaluating the opportunities at hand and choosing the best fit for your situation, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
Last question. XRP Ray says, Filthy Phil wants to know if you were sore from the beating he handed out.
Ooh, I saw you just get manhandled along the boards.
Putting on checking clinic, and you got to learn how to get up against the boards, absorb the hit mass. So
where were your shoulders? Where were your shoulders?
Oh, in the bag. Don't need to check these bad boys. They're a little sore after, a little ice.
A little ice.
Little herbal medicine. We're good.
Herbal medicine. There you go. Anti-inflammatory.
No big deal.
It's all good.
Slept great. Woke up feeling fresh.
Yeah.
But Filthy Phil was giving it to me pretty good.
He was.
To chalk that one up on the social media. Cue it up.
I saw it on Twitter. Baller sent it to me on Twitter.
Yeah,
he was running you, man.
Oh yeah.
He was just giving it to you.
Yeah. Well, great questions. That's a wrap. 170 in the books. Hard to believe. I know. But we're here. We did it. 170.
We did.
And until next week for 171, just be sure to keep these questions coming. Like, subscribe, all that good stuff. And until then, knuckleheads, stay safe.
See ya.